The Light Conversation. Today we have in the studio with Tom, Les Allitt, MD of Iberian, and we are going to ask, what does make Iberian quite so different? How did Iberian come about to be that different? Let's put it that way.
We don't really want to go back to the beginning, though, surely.
No, but I mean, I think the evolution part is quite interesting. Where, originally it was just kind of doing the cheap shades for the high street shops.
Originally,
and just en masse.
Absolutely. Originally we were a supplier to the retail trade, and obviously China popped along in the 1980s and swiped all of that business pretty much, and have continued to do so.
As they would. Being a company or a country that is building its manufacturing at an alarming rate at that stage.
And still is, actually. But Iberian's quite agile and always have been. So we quickly swung into action effectively. Having got a manufacturing plant, we decided that the way forward was to move up market.
But you weren't always part of Iberian, so there was an Iberian that was quite different before you.
There really
joined.
was. Pre-2003, there was the Iberian that supplied companies like Hills, companies like John Lewis, etc., etc. But those margins were eroded so much that we quickly shifted our focus. Interestingly, from one particular job, which was for the Royal College of Physicians in Ireland, where for whatever reason we got asked to make some enormous shades.
Oh, I've seen those. Yeah.
You've seen the enormous shades, exactly. They're not our proudest moment, but fortunately they're high enough up that nobody noticed.
Well, it's quite often the way things start, isn't it?
Exactly.
You have a go because somebody asks you to, and then you kind of build from that. You build your experience and expertise, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Really.
I mean, we're partly John Bullock, who's still around, very much designing lighting, was kind enough to mention us in dispatches. It was his project, and for whatever reason, that led to more projects and continues to do so to this day. So, without blowing his trumpet too much, he is partially responsible, along with a guy that really is no longer with us, which is Ian Howard from Lighting Force, who unfortunately died a few years ago, who were sort of inspirational in pushing us into the direction of bespoke lighting.
Yeah. And it's obviously it's a very different kind of a market, and it's a very different kind of a field doing the bespoke from doing the sort of general contract work. And I know when I joined, we were still doing hotel jobs en masse, almost to the point where it felt like contract work, like what you would be doing for the high street. So you'd just be churning out shades and shades.
Churning out shades, yeah.
But obviously the bespoke part was growing at that stage. It's not the easiest thing to grow from just being a lampshade maker, I suppose.
Not at all. Bespoke lighting is much more complicated than people would have you believe. There's a lot of moving parts in bespoke lighting, and we shifted from being a manufacturer of what other people wanted, and this has evolved over time to the position we are now, but the evolution basically is going from taking other people's designs and simply making them, in quite often with devastating results, to taking other people's designs, modifying them to make them work. And now the evolution for us is that we now design products from scratch, sometimes and quite often with inspiration from designers and architects, but there's an awful lot more of input through the whole design process, through the manufacturing process, through the finishing process, right the way through to getting the product on site, assisting with site installations. So it really is a completely different animal.
Yeah, of course. And sort of general public-wise, the public find it difficult to start a conversation, which is why I suppose so many of them just default to buying a standard shade from, one of the many kind of retailers and importers that are out there. And where do you start working out what you need in terms of a lampshade? And it's so personal a question. People kind of, I think, sometimes I get the sense they're stumped by the amount of choice there is, in a way, and to then, in the middle of all that noise, find their own voice and pick what they would actually like is quite a difficult thing without any guidance.
It is, and we do an awful lot of hand-holding, obviously. And it's a very mutual thing, because clients will come to us, either high-end residential typically, and people now are much more aware of what is possible and what isn't available. And the imported market is very much the same colours have disappeared, whereas we can produce things that have got colours, any type of style, and people are becoming much more conscious of style and the sort of style that they want. Particularly the more discerning clients really do know what they want.
Yeah, I think sort of lighting potentially had a period where it went from the early kind of industrialized products to the real kind of mass market, should we say, IKEA style almost, where everybody had those kind of standardized products. They were all trying to make them cheaper and cheaper to get more people to buy them. And slowly the market is coming back around, be it through people just got fed up of seeing the same things everywhere, or be it through the fact that the sustainability is a lot of people's concern. Now, they mightn't kind of quite realize all the items that tie into, if you really wanted to live a sustainable life. But one of the things is you do want products that last longer, that are better made. If you're going to be living with a lampshade for, you were talking earlier about one of the shades that you've got that we made has been there for 10 years quite happily.
Yeah.
And it's
LED.
And if you're going to be living with a thing for 10 years or more, well, you kind of want it to be an extension of your own persona. You don't just want to buy something off the shelf. And I think it's something that people are slowly coming around to as a principle.
I think it is. The days of 90% of people buying their lighting from British home stores, and then the demise of British home stores, the upsurge from people like John Lewis, Heels, IKEA, Dunelm's. I try and avoid desperately going into B&Q or Dunelm's because it offends me.
It is really. Once you start looking at the sort of properly made items, it's almost like the Bible phrase, and scales fell off their eyes, and you can't go in and look at the same stuff that you might have considered when you were younger, because you had the pressures of a new family and not a lot of money and your first house and all that, and of course you buy cheap, but then as you sort of progress, you sort of go, well, really, I don't want this cheap, nasty looking stuff anymore.
No, exactly. We, as you know, we refurbish a lot of very, very old lights. So lights that were crafted in the days when craftsmen were craftsmen, pre the Second World War, really. We still refurbish them, and the craft that's gone into them is amazing, and that is still available in little pockets of England, like Iberian Lighting.
It's not for nothing that all the kind of the bigger, more expensive high-end brands are copying the old stuff, because it was well made.
Yeah, this is
the sort of the well-made stuff from the 70s just doesn't exist, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, sadly, it really doesn't. And actually, it's interesting how trends have changed, and people now are going for I'd call it a cozier look. Really, it's got proper names, I'm guessing, but people are much more interested in patterns and fabrics and colours, despite the white being the
colour of the year, the cloud dancer colour of the year. Yes,
I'm sure was just a very clever marketing ploy.
Yeah, I don't know. The amount of interior designers posts I've seen on Instagram where people are just going, "Sod this! This is our colour of the year."
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's cost Pantone some of their authority, really.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that makes it perfect is our coffee gets made as well. Thank you, Elaine. That's very nice. And we deal with all sorts of. The UK as a whole is blessed with a huge range of amazing fabrics from some amazing fabric suppliers, and trims, etc. So, there's a wealth of stuff or materials to work with.
So just kind of quickly circling back to the sort of things that make Iberian different. We've got an engineering workshop downstairs. How does that work with a lampshade maker?
It's a very strange phenomenon. I'd like to say we're unique, and certainly we're pretty unique in the UK, in as much as we're split into two, not separate parts, but two quite distinct parts. One is fabrics and touchy-feely and clean and beautiful. And the other side of it is the design side and the engineering side of it, because unbeknown to most people, an awful lot of engineering goes into manufacturing a humble lampshade. And we are in fact, we are unique in this, that almost everything that we do is done in-house.
Yeah. And
that's from the raw material through to the finished product. And that is a whole conversation on its own, but it involves, we employ around 22 people. I think if you add it up, there's a computer for every person.
Yep.
There's numerous CNC machines, from CNC lathes, CNC mills, CNC plasma cutters, laser cutters, CNC fabric cutters. It's much more technologically dependent, or much more technology is dependent. And yet at the end of that is someone with a needle and thread.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
That
goes back into the hand, and it's the hand that makes sure that it is what it is.
It is. I mean, you know, we make a lot of pleated shades. They're all done literally by eye. So, you know, where else could you get that? So,
yeah, it was very much, when I joined, it was very much a sort of front of house and back of house kind of feel in the old factory, where the front of house was kind of the cleaner, busier end. And then the back of house was kind of where, you know, the metal bits were, and the grease and the loud machines and everything else.
They're both completely interdependent.
We're now at a sort of uptown and lower town kind of set up in the new space, and we've got
the new space. We've got 2 floors basically. Yeah. So the lower floor is, you could call it the dirty area. It's not really dirty at all, and the upper area is very much the clean area.
Yeah.
You know, please do not spill your coffee on my lampshade, because it's just taken ages to make.
Yeah.
So there is, in that sense, there's 2 defined areas. And of course, we use industrial sewing machines. There's an awful lot of the skill level of the people that we've got here. And I haven't actually bothered to add up the amount of years of experience there is, but it's significant. It runs into hundreds.
And the range of fields.
And the range of fields, yeah. We've got, you know, skilled sewing machinists. We've got upholsterers, both guys and girls that are really good at CNC machines, that are really good with their hands. It really is amazing. So we'll take any material.
We've got a cook.
We even have a cook, which is very handy at birthdays, because everyone gets the most amazing birthday cakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cook that is incredibly good at also, well, across the whole range, from manufacturing in the slightly dirtier area to finishing in the finishing area.
So say I've got a base, you know, as potentially is the case with a lot of clients that I've picked up from somewhere, be it a family heirloom, be it, you know, something I've had for ages. The shade's gone a bit tatty. What happens? How do I make that into something that I can have sitting in the corner of my room and look at and get a smile on my face every time I look at it again?
It's quite easy, really. I mean, even today, we've had a client whose first name's Debbie, actually, as it happens. She wants 2 shades for 2 lamp bases in her house that have some sort of meaning to her in her life. I asked her to send pictures of them sideways on, if you like. We've very quickly drawn them. She's given us the size of them. We've drawn a quick outline of them. She's told us, broadly speaking, what shape she wants. She wanted an Empire and a Coolie.
Yep.
We've drawn them in place for her, sent her an image showing the position of the shade on the base, showing the position of the fitting within the base so that we can manufacture it. She said, I love it. And they've now gone into production. So there's a whole production system that goes through, which involves choosing fabrics, colours for the actual metalwork that goes into that relatively simple shade. But even in that case, she doesn't have to have a white frame.
Yeah.
If she wants a frame, any colour you like, basically. But if she wants a bronze flat frame or a white frame or whatever, pink, we've done it all sorts, she can have it. And that's the difference, really.
Yeah. And what about the fabric?
Well, fabrics are easy from our point of view. People look on our website, or they simply say, I want a linen and I want a neutral colour. We have a brilliant system that seems to work seamlessly, effectively, where we pop some samples in the post. A day or two later, subject to the post office, they can actually sit in their home, choose the fabric. And equally for commercial clients, we go a step further. And if they're a regular client, they'll get a whole host of samples, from silks to linens to felts, you name it. The sky really is the limit. And the type of shade that you want, because obviously shades are not all born equal. We have what we call hard shades, which are backed with a material. It can be card, it can be PVC, it can be polyester materials, or equally we do what we call soft shades. There are some crossovers in this, so it's not quite as simple as it sounds, where there is no backing, it's purely fabric, normally fabric on the inside as a lining and fabric on the outside with a trim, either a trim that we can purchase from there's numerous places in the UK where we can get trims from, or we can make our own trim, which we do. We've got machines for making trim out of the same material, which is really nice. Or the client, if they want, can supply their own trim and their own fabric, subject to a few no-nos, which, broadly speaking, don't choose carpet to make a small shade.
Yes. And of course, I mean, we had the case recently with, I'm thinking of Sergio and Natasha. They came in with a thing that they've had for years and years that sat in the corner of their room as a decorative thing. I think looking at it when it came in, it was a sort of basket woven, probably an umbrella stand or a cane stand.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was actually.
Because it had a metal plate in the bottom,
yeah,
and kind of some sort of metal framework inside.
What it really wasn't was a lamp base.
No, it wasn't. No. But they came in with that and said, we've been told that you might be able to turn that into a lamp base. And that was just completely out of the blue. Somebody had said, oh, why don't you try these guys? And they went away more than happy with a lamp base, which had their names on.
They did. We laser etched their names into a bespoke walnut. Yeah. What would you call it? The top cap that went into the wicker basket. A very happy couple, to be fair.
And we had quite a funny instance here by happenstance, as it were, where we were out there discussing the shape and the colour of the shade, and they were kind of a bit undecided, and we sort of tried various shapes that happened to be going through production at the time, and there was an unusual shape.
And what did they choose? A very unusual shape, something that...
But it really, really does work.
It does work, and... I think we've already posted pictures of it, I think, but we can certainly do that again, because it isn't something that any normal person would have, not that they're abnormal, it isn't something that any normal person would have thought of.
That's just it, unless you came to a place like this where, there is really an open mind about what sort of works for lampshades and what doesn't, you would have never tried that sort of thing on that base, because you would have just gone into a shop and they would have gone, well, you can have this Empire or you can have this drum, and that's it. You just would have not got that choice.
No, you've hit on what makes Iberian different. Yeah. Because commercial customers are welcome, and as are domestic customers by appointment, to come here and discuss what they need. And the selection is amazing, and the results can be equally amazing.
And we've talked about it every now and then when we're saying, you're spending a lot of time with, just a private customer. And I think it's one of the things that makes the service at Iberian quite so unique, is that it doesn't matter whether you're coming in to buy a shade for a lamp base. No. You will get the same quality of service as the commercial customer that comes in, that will have, a multi-thousand-pound project on the back end of what they're coming in to
Absolutely.
Look at.
From a commercial point of view, it's probably a disaster, but we literally treat every customer, big or small,
And so it
exactly,
should, you know,
exactly the same.
We make every lampshade with the same care and attention, so we should treat every customer with the same care and attention.
Yeah, and absolutely, and that's how. Yeah, and I guess that is one of our key points, really.
Yeah.
You will always get a happy, smiling face, and a long discussion, sometimes more than you perhaps want, about the pros and cons of lampshades.
I still find it funny that, you know, initially when we said about, you know, we can do the factory tour when you come in and the showroom visit, and it's like, you know, if we can get it down to half an hour, 15 minutes, you won't even get half the floor downstairs done.
No, well, you know as well as I do. We've literally,
proper tour is 2 hours.
Yeah, we've literally just had a lady come in, and she thought she was going to come in and out in 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
An hour and a bit later, she's going, I've really got another appointment, but she's run out the door.
Can I go back downstairs with you afterwards and do some video for my social media? And it's like, yeah, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, equally, you know, we're very happy for people to come in, and like all companies, you know, we need a degree of exposure.
Yeah.
So happy days, really. It's
and then just briefly touching back on, because obviously we manufacture here, and by here I mean in the UK, and I won't negate that it doesn't come with its unique set of challenges, and that potentially if we manufactured somewhere where conditions were more favourable and cheaper, we would have a very different clientele, and we would have a very different market share. But there is something unique about manufacturing in the UK, which I think is important to keep at. Because
yeah, we as you know, we're part of Made in Britain, and we genuinely are Made in Britain. And clients who come here, they may pay a little bit more. Not always. Some of them are quite surprised, actually.
Yeah.
But what you get is a completely different experience, and something that genuinely is unique. Most of the people that walk out of this place with a lampshade, no one else will have one like it.
No one else would have gone and been able to go and get their lampshade somewhere where they could actually go and have a look at the machine that put their lampshade frame together, and could look at the guy that, you know, powder coated it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just,
you can literally, I can give you the certificate of conformity for the metal that it was made out of.
Yeah.
To where did the fabric come from, to does it comply with the electrical regulations, etc., etc. So everything that we do, and we don't just do shades. We've recently done a set of stag's horns that are flocked in purple velvet as a hat stand for a client. So that I think behind us, I'm not sure if it shows up, but there's a sign that says "Don't walk, dance," which is made in house. It's a light, I guess, because it's got a light in it, but it certainly is not a lampshade.
No, for sure. And I think one of the things that I'm quite keen on kind of pointing out is the UK always was a sort of hub of crafts. It had its own style, it had its own craft. You only got to look back at the arts to know that it also had its own art movements, quite distinct. Well, not fully distinct from what was going on the continent, but you know, you look at Art Nouveau on the continent. Well, it wouldn't have happened without the sort of pre-Raphaelites, and then you had the equivalent here, which was the arts and crafts movement, which again had its own style, and it built on that whole movement of, well, we've managed to create industrialized processes. We managed to create ways of manufacturing stuff cheaper, better, faster, but we've lost something here, and we've lost the craft. And I think we're on a similar cusp again, where we've managed to kind of, you know, make things accessible for everybody, but we've lost that individuality that we used to have. And I think for that particular reason, it's really, really important that UK crafts try and survive and, you know, build their strength back up again, because we have got a unique style. I mean, why when you say style in anything from fashion to cars, does everybody go Italy? Well, the French have got a style, the Germans have got a style.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You've only got to look at what
Absolutely.
they've produced, and so do the English. So I think, you know, if we're not careful, we're going to lose that. And I think it's really, really important that companies like Iberian keep at producing to their own style.
And that customers continue to have the opportunity to buy that type of product, basically. And that's really where we sit in this whole marketplace.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to lose my voice in a second.
That's all right. Well, we've chatted for quite a bit. So maybe this is a natural conclusion.
I think this could be a natural conclusion to. Yeah. Is this our first official podcast? Or
yes,
I think it is. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what other people think. Yeah. And whether they've got anything that they would like us, I guess, to talk about.
Yeah, do get in touch.
You do get in touch, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.